Well, hello, welcome again to a reading of Odyssey Book 4, and I got up to line 808 here. So in this final part of this book, the goddess Athena has created an eidolon, a ghost or a spirit of some sort of apparition, who then appears to Penelope in her dream. And Penelope, of course, has been fairly distraught, knowing about finally that her son has gone off and that the suitors are planning to kill him. So she has appeared and she's spoken a word to her. I think we're meant to take all this happening as happening in the dream. So thoughtful Penelope then replied to her, Hed o mala kunosus in eresi pulaisi. Sleeping, this is from kunoso, so sleeping very sweetly, resting very sweetly, literally in the dream gates. So at the gates of dreams. This is an expression which is mentioned again in Odyssey 19:562. We get the same expression, these gates of dreams. Tipti for tipoti, why casignete, why my sister, this is a very loose word, this here it's not her literal sister, so why, my dear sister, have you come here? We get that usual eleuthes for aelthes, this is the aeolic form. Uti paros ge poliai, this is from poliamai, has a range of meanings. It means to roam around, it can mean to frequent. So it says, not in any way previously, in fact, have you frequented, understand here. So you haven't been to visit us here before, since Nias, you dwell in houses very far, prothi, we had that word before, at a long distance, so a very far distance away. Kaimekeliai, and you bid me, pausasthai, to cease from my oidzuos, my wailing, and my many, and the polyones kept to the next line for emphasis, and my many pains, my great suffering. Many pains which, eretho is a funny verb, it just means to keep someone away from their rest. So which prevent rest, or prevent me from resting, kataphrena kai katathumon, in my mind and in my heart. Now we get some repetition here, which is always nice with Homer. Makes it a bit easier to, when you've got some repetition, you haven't got to look up all the stuff again. So I who, now prin men, previously, and I'm just looking ahead to see if there's a det here. Anyway, I don't see a det. So which previously, so I who previously lost my noble husband, who has the heart of a lion, and who kekasmenon, as I mentioned before, that's from kainumai, to excel. So who has excelled among the Danans in all sorts of virtues, a noble man whose glory is far and wide, so it's Europe, so whose broad glory is up and down Greece and in the midst of Argos. So he has extensive reputation up and down Greece and in the midst of Argos. Now, moreover, my beloved son has gone in the hollow ship. Nepios, the silly boy. Udi ponon euedos uti agoraon. So he's knowing well, neither ponon, well, troubles. It's almost the ways of the world here, but it's just ponos, it can mean troubles. So not knowing well troubles, nor agoraon, nor we might say public speaking, how to conduct him, how to speak in public. Tude ego kai malon aduramai e per ekenu. I lament more for him than, in fact, for that man. Now that's referring, of course, to Odysseus. So I lament more for him, that is Telemachos, than I do for that man, that is my husband, Odysseus. To the amphitromio. Tromio is to shudder, so I tremble all about for him. Kai de dia, and I fear lest he might suffer something. A hot get tone en demo hin oikatai a any ponto. Now the hot get is slightly odd here. It's really picking back up the napios, the pious, the boy. So either he, understand, might suffer something in the land of those, hina for where he is going. So I fear lest he might suffer something in the land to where he is going, or any ponto on the sea. Dos menies gar poloi, for many hostile men. Dos menes is a word meaning hostile, and it's being used here as it's being used here as a noun, really. So for many hostile men are contriving against him, desiring to kill him, prin patridegeon hikestai, before he comes to his native land. Now the amaron eidolon. Eidolon, of course, is neuter. Amaron is dim. It's a word that's used in tragedy later on as well to describe any kind of apparition or ghost. It's in book 9 of the later book of the Odyssey, where book 11, I think, where he goes down into Hades, into the house of Hades. So these ghosts are amaros. They're dim, perhaps spectral, might be good. So the spectral ghost answered her, replying. So it's neuter because it's agreeing with Eidolon. So the spectral ghost in reply said to her, say, take heart, have courage. Meti panku metaphresi de dithilio. De dia, which we had a couple of lines earlier up here, is perfect in form but present in meaning. And so this is a pluperfect imperative ending here, but it's just so with Medi. So do not fear excessively, very much in any way, metaphresin in your heart, for toye ga pompos ham erkatai. Now, this is feminine because it's going to agree with Pallas Athena a few lines later. So it's for such a female escort goes along with him, an escort whom also other men, a race on top from Eratomite to pray, have prayed. Paris, this is an infinitive from Paris Dame, might stand beside them. Dunatai, for she is able, she has the power, i.e. this is Pallas Athena. So it's for such an escort, Pallas Athena goes along with him, an escort which also other men have prayed might stand beside them, for she has the power. And she pities you, lamenting, participle here. She pities you wailing or weeping. And she now, pro Ake from pro Hiame, has sent me to speak to utter these words, take this together, Tain for soy to you. So Athena is with him, and she sent me here to utter these words to you. Thoughtful Penelope then replied to her, if indeed you are a god, and you hear, I should say, and it takes a genitive, you hear the voice of the god, possibly goddess, perhaps because she is feminine. So if you are divine, perhaps, and you hear the voice of the goddess, I dage, that standard phrase here, come, katalexon, imperative, relate to me also of that wretched man. That is, of course, referring to Odysseus. So tell me all about that poor, piteous man, that wretched man, whether perchance still he lives and sees the light of the sun, or now has died and Ain for N is in the houses of Hades. This is that whole genitive here. The dim, or the spectral ghost, replying, said to her, Umen toi canon ge dienenkios agoruso. I will not speak, I will not talk to you, dienenkios, of adverb, at length, in fact, of that man, about Odysseus. Understand whether he lives or he is dead. Kakon de anemolia bastain. Let us apply the verb to be here. It is a bad thing. Basto is that verb of speaking, so to speak, anemolia, literally windy things, connected with animos, the wind. In other words, empty words, words that just go into the wind or into the air that don't mean anything. So empty words is normally translated, I think. So it is a bad thing to speak empty words. Hos a pon. Now this is a neuter participle here because it's agreeing with the eidolon, which is neuter. So thus the ghost, having spoken, liaste, it's a deponent from liasdamai, it's a funny verb. It means to slip away. So thus, having spoken, she slipped away beside we've had this before, this clay, it's like a key, but it's generally translated the bolt of the door, the stathmoios, into the breezes of the winds. So thus speaking, she glided by the bolt of the door into the breath, perhaps, of the winds. It's actually it's got to be accusative plural, into the breezes of the winds, or into the breaths of the winds. But she, this is Penelope, and Oruse arose from her sleep, she the daughter of Icarius, and her dear heart for her, so the dear heart for her dear heart, Ianthe, was warmed, from Eino. That's an aorist passive here, so it was warmed. So hose here, I think, like since, since a clear dream, episuta, literally rushed to her. We would just say came to her, perhaps rushed past her or brushed past her. Nuktos amolgo is, the exact meaning has never been properly explained. It's generally rendered in the darkness of the night, or in the dark of the night. So her heart was warmed since a clear dream came to her in the darkness of the night. And now the cameras go back to the suitors. But the suitors, having got on board, were sailing upon the perhaps watery. Hugros means wet, so watery paths, watery ways, it's often translated. Homoinontes, planning or contemplating. Phonon ipun. It's a funny use of ipus. The word means to shear. It's often used of hills and things, or something which is very steep. Some translated as utter, so utter murder. Latimer translates it as sudden, which probably might get the sense of it, I think, here. I quite like that. So, devising sudden murder in their hearts for Telemachos. Now, the final little section here now describes the island. So there is a certain island, a certain rocky island in the middle of the salt, well, middle of the sea, but we've had this before, hals for meaning salt, but used as another name for the sea. Mesengus, between Ithaca and rugged Samos. Now this is not the Samos that's over near Turkey, this is another name for one of the other islands right near Ithaca. I think I mentioned before, and the name of this little island is Asteris, literally Starry Island. Now, the commentators tell us that no such island is known. Connections with the island of Dascalio have generally been dismissed as not fitting the other details which Homer gives later on, so it may be just an invention. Megale, not a big one, so it's a small island. Others have suggested perhaps the topography has changed since antiquity and that this island just disappeared. Heaven knows. Limines deni now lokoi aute amphidumoi. And there are, and now notice the accent on any, that means it's short for enesti. There are in it harbours, now lokoi. Well, it's a funny word. It sort of means places where ships can hide, so hiding places for ships. So there are on it, or in it, harbours, hiding places for ships might be good for now lokoi. Amphidumoi, twofold, so twofold harbours. Te ton gemenon lokoontes Achaioi. Now, so this is the Achaeans setting an ambush. Menon, from Meno, were remaining, in fact, sorry, were waiting, I should say. The Achaeans, having set an ambush or a trap, were in fact waiting for him, Te, in that place. And that is the end of book